What are the level adjustment in Photoshop and why do we need them? That's the topic we are going to talk about today. Hi guys, this is Naveed. Thank you for tuning in. Today we are going to see how can we apply the level adjustment layer in Photoshop and how can we make the most out of those level adjustments. So basically we use level adjustments for two basic reasons. First, to correct the tonal range, and the second, to correct the color balance. So how can we apply levels? There are two ways of applying levels. The first way is simply go to image, adjustments and level, and the shortcut is Ctrl L or Command L for the Mac users. So once you click on it, you will get this level dialog box out. So here you can apply any edits you like, and once you are happy with the edits you press OK. But once you press OK, all the edits you just performed will burn down to the image. So whatever changes or color correction you are applying on the image will burn down to the pixel, which can't be reverted or which can't be edited later on. So once you press OK, you see all the edits are gone or performed or applied on the image, which cannot be reverted. And the best way of applying the level adjustment layer onto your image is by simply go to layer, new adjustment layer and levels. You can apply the same layer by simply go to this icon here and click on levels, and you see a new layer has created on top of your image. So here you are greeted with this dialog box. What is it? So basically you see this image here, this is your histogram. This far right white slider represents your highlights, and this far left dark slider represents your shadows, and the middle represents your mid-tone. It's simple as that. So if I want to increase the brightness, well, this image is already bright enough. If I want to increase the shadows into the image, I slightly move the far left slider towards right, and you see the shadows are being increased in the image. Or if I use the midtones and increase the shadows, you can see if I move the slider towards right, the image is getting darker, so the dark shades of the dark shades are coming out of the image. Similarly, if I move this slider towards the left, you will see the highlights are coming into the image. So whichever way you move this slider, depending on your image, you will get those highlights or shadow increase or decrease into your image. So let me press reset again. So let me show you a quick example here how the level works. This is just for demonstration purposes only, just to visualize, just to make you understand how level works. So here you see my image. So basically what happens, if I move this white slider towards left, you will see all the whiteness in my image is getting increased. So basically the white in the image is being increased. If I move the slider more towards the mid-tone or shadows, it will increase the whiteness into the highlights. Similarly, if I increase the shadow slider towards right, it will bring more shadows or dark or make the pixel more darker. So let me put this back. So now you see this represents the highlights and this represents the shadows, and this is the midtones. If I move this midtone towards left, you see the whiteness is getting increased in my image, and if I move this slider towards right, you see the black or the pixel are getting darker in my image. So my midtones are getting darker. So I hope it makes sense. Now you know what are these sliders are there for. So let me reset it again and come back to my image. So how can we apply levels? If you pay attention on this histogram and you see this slider here, before you apply any adjustment, simply press the Alt from the keyboard and move this slider towards left. When you move this slider, you start seeing some artifacts on the screen. Once you start seeing those artifacts on the screen, stop, because this is where you start. If you go further than this point, you will start losing the details from the artwork. And similarly on the shadow side, press Alt and move the shadows towards right till you start seeing those artwork on the screen. So by applying this little adjustment, you see what's the difference. That's the before and this is the after. Now if I move this middle slider, the midtones, depending on your image, it is different, it's unique for every image. So if I move this slider towards left, it will increase the brightness into the image. And if I move this mid-tone slider towards right, it will increase the shadow range. It will increase the shadows in my image. So if I move the slider slightly towards right, you see a nice contrast has been created. So let me hide this box and you see that's after and this before. So this is before and this is after. Simply by applying minor adjustment to the levels, you see how your image can pop up and how you can adjust the color of any image. So let's go into the further details. So if I double click on this slider, you see we have go our RGB channels on the top. So let me get back to our previous example to find out how those RGB channels can be helpful to create an awesome effect into our image. And here you can see our main image. So if I go to red channel and increase the red in my highlights, so what do? I simply take the brightness or the highlight slider simply towards the left. So you see I'm moving my left slider, highlight slider, and you see the red is being added into my image. And similarly, if I wanna increase the green in my highlights, I go to green channel and add the highlights, and you see the green is coming into my highlights. Similarly, go for the blue. If I wanna add blue into my highlights, I go to simply blue channel and it will only add the blue into my highlights. I hope it's making sense. And what if I take the blue or green or red out of the image, then what color I'm going to left with? So if I go to red channel and instead of adding the red, if I take the red out, what do you think what color I'm going to left with? So what is the opposite of the red? It is cyan. So if I take the shadows out, or if I move the shadow towards right, so basically I'm taking the red out of the shadows, and if I do that, you will see the cyan is coming into our image. Similarly, if I go to green channel and take the green out from the shadows, so what happened? What's the opposite of the green? That's magenta. So if I take the green out of the image, you can see the magenta is coming in. And similarly, if I take the blue out from the shadows, and you see the yellowish is coming in. I'm going to show you this quick example by turning this layer off. So pause for a minute or for a moment and find out and have a look at this color chart to find out what the opposite of the RGB, which is also known as the web color. And basically the red is opposite of cyan, green is opposite of magenta, and the blue is opposite of the yellow. So RGB are basically the web color for the color you can see on the screen, and CMYK is also known as the printing colors, the color you can see on the leaflets on the magazines. And any printed document you see, even your printer at home, the color printer come with four basic cartridges, and that is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So let's get back to our topic. So in this image, what if I want to decrease the greenish shade from this image? How do I do that? So simply going to levels and I create a new level adjustment layer and go to green channel and slightly take the green out. And sooner you take the green out, you see how the details are coming back in. So let me remove this and you see before and after. And similarly, what if I want to add the blue or the cyan shade into my image? I simply double click on this level adjustment layer and go to blue channel and simply increase the blue from the highlights, and you see the blue effect is coming in. So before and after, before and after. So similarly, you can see how you can apply the minor adjustments on the highlights, on the shadows, on the midtones to get that nice effect out and make your image pop out. So now we know how to use the level adjustment, but there's another slider underneath. So this slider also known as output level. So you see how many colors are in RGB. So basically start from 0 to all the way up to 255, which is the brightest point. So you see if I move this dark or the far left slider, it basically defines the shadows, how dark your shadow is. So if I go back to my main example, So in this example, you can see the right side represents the complete whiteness and the left side represents the pure or jet black. And if I use this slider towards right, what it will do, you see that my dark or my shadows are no longer pure black. So if I move my output level towards right, so basically I'm telling Photoshop my shadows are not complete dark. So here you can define or how dark your shadow should be. So if you set the level to 25, the Photoshop know, okay, my shadows or darkest point on my image shouldn't be less than 25 from the dark sides. And what about similarly on the right side, on the highlight side, if I move this slider towards left, you see my white is no longer a white. So my new white is basically a shade of gray. And now Photoshop know in my level adjustments my white is basically this shade of gray. I hope it's making sense. So let me get back to our image and let me show you how basically it's working. So if I reduce the output level, so basically I'm telling Photoshop, okay Photoshop, my white is basically, this is my white. And here you can define what is the brightest pixels in your image. And similarly you can tell Photoshop, okay Photoshop, this is, this shade of black is the darkest gray I have, or the darkest point I have in my image. You can also get the nice matte effect by simply moving this slider towards left. So you see the blacks are no longer blacks, you see. So that's how you can control the brightest or the darkest part of the image. So we have covered the histogram, these sliders and our output level, and we have also covered the channels. And on the presets, there are few presets, different presets you can apply on them. I don't really use them, but you can apply all of them. Basically, there are different combination of midtone and shadows. Once you apply, you get the idea. Let me reset it again. And on the left side, you can see these three sliders there. So basically what happens here, you can tell Photoshop by simply click on one of these sliders. So this is basically the white slider is basically for the highlights, and this is for the midtone, and this for the shadows. So let's suppose if I pick the white from here and I tell Photoshop, this is my white point, this is the brightest point in my image. So if I click on it, see what happens. Now you see, by simply telling Photoshop which is the brightest point in my image, the Photoshop will adjust the rest of the colors accordingly. And that's it guys, I hope you have learned something out of this tutorial today. And if you have any question, please feel free to drop the line in the comment section. And if you are here on my channel first time, please do consider subscribing and hit the bell icon to get all the notification. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.